Star Citizens, a game of immense beauty. It's one of the most immersive experiences I've ever played. It's packed to the brim with fidelity, but as an alpha, it still has its problems. And today in Star Citizens Constructive Criticisms, and believe me, don't try and say that 5 times fast, even though I don't exactly know who the audience of this video is, whether it's just fellow citizens looking for things to agree upon, or for the devs to actually come in and fix some of these issues. We're going to go ahead and highlight some of these problems and see if there's any effective ways to tackle them. So without further ado, let's roll the intro and get into it. In today's video, we're not actually going to focus on a singular topic like I will in the future. In today's video, I have a list of 10 things that I wish were fixed in Star Citizen. Just short little things that seem more like, opposed to bugs, just oversights that CIG have made when it comes to implementing stuff into the game. Weird situations where there's an example of it working somewhere else, and then it doesn't work in this particular instance. I'd like to specify that this list is in no way a chronological order of things they should start looking to fix in the game. It's just off the dome topics that I've come across while playing. Number 1. Vehicle flipping. Now, raise your hand if you've been here. Actually, don't bother, I can't see it. And anybody that's played Star Citizen and tried to use a ground vehicle has definitely been here, because it happens all the goddamn time. Just to be clear, this is an exception to the rule that I made earlier that I'll be looking at oversights of things that exist in the game, because this one doesn't have one, but it's still as important as everything else I'm going to talk about today. So everyone's been here. You and your merry bands grab your spaceships, fly down planet side, head to a platinum bay, spawn your ground vehicles, park them inside your spaceships, fly somewhere else, drive 100 meters, and they're useless. They're on your head and you have to start the entire process again. And quite frankly, in an alpha, there's absolutely no need for this. Even if it needs to have lore or some kind of mechanic behind it from the dev side for it to be in it, there's just no need. The idea I'm proposing is quite simply an interaction for all ground vehicles. You just walk up, press and hold F, and there's an option that just says flip. All it does is raise your vehicle, say a meter off the ground, orientate it correctly, and drop it to the ground. This would happen after maybe a second delay, so you can move back in case something crazy happens. The reason I'm pushing for this one is because I can foresee problems in the future where nobody's really stress tested any vehicles for long enough. People go as far as to Grey Cat rock mine off the back ramp of their vehicles, and this is so they can completely avoid the ground and the chances that their vehicle will flip and lose all of the valuables that they have inside, because starting that entire process again, it's not fun. This would be an incredibly valuable tool to, say, content creators that try and organise events using ground vehicles. In particular, go and try and look up Atmo Esports. They host some incredible events around the verse using vehicles. And imagine how much better that rock and roll practice event would have been if there was simply a button to flip the vehicles and people could actually finish the race properly. Number 2. A money transfer log. In 3.10 they implemented one of the best features I've actually put in the game in a long time. This was in the form of a simple app in the mobiGlas where you can just send funds to other players, whether it be AUEC or merits for prison. In short, it's good because you can do this whenever, wherever. It doesn't matter if they're offline or in the game or in the same server. You can just send money and it will pop up on the screen. Well, it will pop up on the screen if they're in the game, which is odd. Because say for organizations such as mine and ones I'm in, the current way we do transfers is that we send a screenshot in Discord to prove that we did send the money that they've received, but they just didn't know who they received it from because they were offline. So all I'm proposing for this is quite simply a log. In fact, there's already even a place for it in the journal app. Currently the journal app's used by, well, no one. Okay, maybe not no one. Maybe you did use it in that personal investigation mission at Kovalek Shipping Hub. But apart from that, it's not really used at all. So what I'm proposing is quite simply a message to pop up inside your journal app when you appear back online, and it just says, hey, you've received money. You click on it and you find out who sent you money, how much they sent, and when they sent it, and that's it. I'm not sure if it's just me, but I feel even in real life kind of guilty when somebody sends me money and I don't know where it's from. Is that just me? Number 3, food and drink bulk purchasing. Now, I don't get why this one doesn't exist in the game, because it exists in other scenarios, and this is what I'm talking about. I can head to a Kasaba outlet and buy 99 of the same exact jacket, and I can't wear them all at the same time, and I can't sell them on forward. So why can I buy that many of them? So in ships I can accurately fill up my cargo to the exact SCU using slider meters. In clothing stores I can buy as many boots as my credits let me. But I can't stock up on water for a long expedition on a hot planet. It's just a bit odd. It's a problem that's made infinitely worse when you realise that inside ships stuff like water and food actually persists in between sessions. So you could actually have a stash aboard your ship if you wanted to. It's just a bit of an ordeal to do in the first place, but I'm hoping that the new inventories in 3.11 will allow this to be easily implemented. Number 4, food and drink placement, or just consistent placement of all objects. Now this one might come as a hot tip to you, because there's a bunch of ways you can put something down technically. Say if you're carrying a box, you can fall in your arse and drop it, get hit by something, use the inner thought system to actually drop it on the floor, or there's actually 2 ways you can place an object down where you want it exactly. The first one is the interaction mode. Yeah, you press and hold F, use the place button, drop it on the floor. Easy as that, right? The second way is the one you might not know about. All you have to do, say while holding a box, is to first press and hold right click, followed by pressing and hold left click. You'll instantly notice that you'll have the same familiar placement UI screen available. After you've decided where you want the object to go, by dragging the mouse around and moving wherever you want, just let go of both buttons. Done. The weird thing is that this doesn't work for food and drink. You still have to physically look at the item itself and then use interaction to drop or place it. It's just one of those weird oversights I don't understand. It might be because they're one-handed items, or something back in the code base doesn't support it, because you can drink it and interact with it in different ways. Either way, it's just something that could easily be added. Number 5, stowing multiple objects. If you're unfamiliar, at the moment you can only stow one object at a time, which for some instances, say when you're hand mining and there's a bunch of them you want to pick up, it can be quite a lengthy process, because it's done by physically looking at the object and pressing and holding the F key to pick it up and choose the stow option. What I'm proposing here is an option that just says stow multiple. What you would do is you look at an initial first item and choose this option. After this, it's like control clicking documents inside of a folder. Any that you click will be added to a cache, and when you end the interaction by choice, your character will begin a blend animation that just picks up all the items and stows them in the inventory. Of course, this is limited to the capacity you have on your person at the time. Number 6, expanding external inventories. Now they've mentioned that they're going to do this, but I just want it a bit sooner. Basically what they're doing is they're overhauling the personal inventory system so that you can interact with external inventories on vehicles as well, and mix and match all the items in between as you please. Which sounds great, and I'm very excited for it. Problem is, I have a ship that really needs this already. Yep, I'm talking about the Mustang Alpha. Now I understand that CIG is actually aware of this omission. They're actually waiting on core tech that's needed for the whole series, which is the physicalized outside of ship cargo containers, because of the cargo clip on the back of the Mustang Alpha. The problem is that this is a starter ship, and people using it have no real use for it outside the measly 4 SCU of cargo they can actually hold, which can be bought at any terminals you can find across the verse. Which means that anybody that was suckered into buying it, such as myself, is at a disadvantage compared to other starter ships that are found across the verse, which can easily find and fit cargo boxes with inside them. The simple fix for this, of course, is to give the Mustang Alpha the advantage of being able to store any minerals, food or drink using the external inventory system that's going to be applied to the grey cut rock. Number 7. A purchased items or component list. This one's pretty simple. Currently in the verse there's only a few ways to find out what you've actually purchased, and most of the time it has to be equipped or selectable for something to replace. For example, I have a problem when I equipped my Pembroke armor. Even though I own the Pembroke helmet, I can't equip the Pembroke helmet on its own, and I'm unsure if this is a glitch or intentional, but the only way to actually equip it is to go into my Mobiglass, open my equipment manager, equip my Pembroke armor, close my Mobiglass, reopen my Mobiglass, and then equip the helmet, as I've shown on screen here. This happens for a few other items in the verse as well, such as engines or shield generators. What I'm proposing here is fairly simple. Whilst you can retroactively find what you're looking for by, say, going into the ship loadout manager and trying to replace a component in order to find ones you have, I'm just looking for an area inside the Mobiglass sorted by category, which displays a list of all the items you've purchased either in the store or actually inside the game. It's going to be very important to be able to filter this list for people with incredibly large fleet sizes. But in general, it just offers a peace of mind that something you have bought yesterday hasn't just disappeared into the verse. Number 8. Parking mode on hover bikes. Quite simply, a long time ago, CIG implemented hover vehicles into the game. Personally, I love them. They're very space age and they deliver a sci-fi feel, along with a satisfying sense of speed to accompany it. If you've been a backer for as long as I have, you remember the days when CIG was trying to get this right. And the problem they had was that the chip itself couldn't deal with very sudden inclines or declines, and would end up floating for ages or crashing into the ground indefinitely. Now, if you've ever exited the pilot seat of one of these bikes while you've got the engines powered on, you'll understand instantly what one of the solutions was, which was to quite simply raise it off the ground quite a bit. The problem with this is it makes it very hard to park in tight man-made spaces, such as the hangar bays you'll find on most of the ships. You'll often end up scraping your head or having the ship turn on its side when you get inside. The solution to this is pretty simple, and we know it's possible by CIG because of the time they spent adjusting the height of the hover bikes. Because they work the same as ship systems, what should happen is when you press the landing gear button, the ship enters a parking mode, which severely lowers its height off the ground. This could be incredibly useful for quick getaways rather than having to power down the entire hover bike every time you get off, just so you can make sure you can get on the pilot seat easy. This could be also incredibly useful when other man-made objects come into the game, such as roads or navigating towns, as they're most likely to be flat plains. You don't want the hover bike to be sitting at a height that's equal to the size of a building. That would be quite immersion breaking. And in particular, stop the times where you accidentally blow up the ship you're trying to park it inside, or just weird things such as this. Yep, that's the time I managed to flip an entire Karak over, all because I tried to reverse a fallen over Nox out of the vehicle bay. But for now, it would just be very useful to park inside of cargo bays or the hangars of other spaceships. Number 9. Ship refueling. Currently a ship can only be refueled when meeting a number of requirements. These are sitting on a suitable landing pad, and that the pilot has to be in the pilot seat and using the Mobiglass. It's a bit of a clunky system, and as we've experienced, it does not work a lot. What I'm proposing for this is that instead, you can also refuel a ship from the ASOP terminal that you'll find in space stations or landing areas. Currently this does a slightly better job at detecting whether you're actually landed at the correct position. As a result, it makes sense that you can refuel your ship from here because, well, you know your ship's on the landing pad, the game knows your ship's on the landing pad, with the added caveat that it makes sense in lore that you can request this service from a remote location, much like you in the future will be able to fill up your cargo ship. Number 10. The track ship button. Now, for as long as I've played this game and seen this button available on ASOP terminals around the verse, it's never actually worked, and it's puzzled me. In theory, the way the button is meant to work is it spawns your ship wherever the last known location of it was. Even if that's unknown, that could be just the relative average of where you left it, or lost it due to a crash or 30k or etc etc. but basically it spawns it there and it gives you a UI marker of how far away it is. That's it. That's all it really needs. I understand that the blockers to this could be to do with the iCache, because they may want to spawn it there with the items you had inside it at the time, which is a whole different task in itself. But for now, I'd quite like if it just worked. Of course, my main reasoning behind including this in the video is the staggering amount of distance you can actually get from a ship you spawned before it despawns. So we know to some extent that this is possible. So while it might come with a whole host of bugs, to anybody that needs to find a ship that's incredibly far away and even has to go through the struggle of having to find terminals every X amount of minutes because their ship's despawned again, it would still be an invaluable tool to the community to have. And that's it for this Star Citizen focused video. We're a fairly new channel, so if you enjoyed what you saw today, please be sure to drop a like down below, comment with your thoughts, negative and positive, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more in the future, keep on Duppying, and we'll see you in the next one.